The ongoing Soccer World Cup in Russia is described as both a political triumph for President Putin and a corruption disaster for the Russian people. One America's Kristian Rouz has more on this story.
The U.S. Treasury continues its crackdown on the imports of corruption money from Russia into the U.S. The department's Office of Foreign Assets Control blacklisted an additional 5 Russian entities and 3 individuals earlier this month. However, Russia's ongoing World Cup has revealed the limited impact of U.S. sanctions to the Kremlin-related corruption.
They got the right to stay to the World Cup, clearly through corruption. Putin's going to use it the way Hitler used the 1936 Olympics. The idea of Putin using this as a PR exercise to gloss over the brutal, corrupt regime for which he's responsible fills me with horror.
According to a Russian anti-corruption watchdog, the majority of World Cup infrastructure, including stadiums and airports, were built or renovated by the Kremlin-aligned corrupt officials and oligarchs. Although the international attendees of the World Cup are not subject to the Treasury's sanctions, the revenues raised by the blacklisted individuals during the event might fall under the category of ill-gotten gains. Russia spent over $14 billion to upgrade infrastructure in its 11 cities that host the World Cup, making it the most expensive World Cup in history. Even though such an investment could provide a boost to Russia's economy in the long run, corruption investigators say the lion's share of this money was misappropriated and ended up on foreign bank accounts of the oligarchs and officials involved.
The main winners of this championship are already known to us. The list on the largest contractors is topped by these voracious people, the friends of President Putin. So the World Cup is, of course, a celebration of sports. But in our country, it's also an opportunity to steal billions of dollars from the Russian citizens.
Such money flows might pose interest to the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control. Russian anti-corruption watchdogs say at least 12 out of 25 critical World Cup facilities have connections to people or entities under US sanctions over the Kremlin's war in Ukraine or transnational corruption under the Magnitsky Acts. This group of individuals includes the infamous aluminium tycoon Oleg Deripaska and philanthropist and prominent Clinton donor Viktor Vekselberg. According to the Clinton Foundation's donor records, Vekselberg donated between $50,000 and $100,000 to the Clintons, while also paying $500,000 to Bill Clinton for a speech in Moscow back in 2010.
Now I'm wondering, based on that other headline I just showed you from 2016, where's the investigation of Vekselberg's relationship with the Clintons?
Problems with this year's World Cup go back several years, as the tenders to build Russia's soccer infrastructure were won on a non-competitive basis by close Kremlin allies, allowing them unrestricted access to Russia's federal budget and drive up construction costs. On its part, the Kremlin allegedly resorted to corruption to win its bid with FIFA to host the World Cup, later known as FIFA-gate. While some have speculated the Kremlin was seeking to boost its international prestige by hosting the championship, true reasons are more prosaic: the multi-billion corruption revenues.
Many people hold me ultimately responsible for the actions and reputation of the global football community, whether it's a decision for the hosting of a World Cup or a corruption scandal.
While some see the World Cup as a political triumph for the Kremlin and others view it as one of Russia's largest corruption endeavors, the Treasury is pursuing its own strategy towards Russia. The Treasury stressed its sanctions are not targeting the Russian people, but are aimed specifically against the ill-gotten gains of the Kremlin allies.
If you push them outside of the Western world to which they are accustomed, I think the foundations for autocracy and corruption in Russia will be heavily undermined.
Meantime, Russia's World Cup continues as a cheerful celebration of athletics and international communication and unity, although it may have come at a price too steep for the Russian people to pay yet again. Kristian, Rouz, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.